This is my list of Canelo's best wins. It's tough because he every made me realize that a lot of Canelo fights are controversial or they are very, very close. Number five, I have Canelo's win over Miguel Cotto. That was Canelo's like big coming out party, his first like real big fight before he took on Golovkin. And Cotto was on the other side of it, but he still put up a really good fight with Canelo. And I thought Canelo did a good job in that fight to pick up a win over a big time performer. Number four, I have a tie. I have both Caleb Plant and Trout. The Trout fight was interesting because Trout came when he was at his highest powers. He had just beat Cotto, and Canelo was taking on a guy in Trout that he didn't exactly have to fight at 154, slick southpaw, and Canelo handled him. The Plant fight was another big one for Canelo. He gets the knockout. It's part of his. It puts the finishing touch on 168, becoming undisputed there. So I have that at number four. Number three is the most controversial of all of Canelo's fights, besides the first Golovkin fight, is Arizlandi Lara. Right? People still to this day. Do you think Lara won that fight, or do you think Canelo won?
I think Lara won the fight. I don't have that as Canelo's top wins.
What'd you say?
I don't have that in Canelo's top wins.
Well, I mean, he got his hand raised, so I'm going by what we think. I'm going by what BoxRec says, but there was another fight that Canelo did not have to take. Like no one was demanding that Canelo fight Arizlandi Lara, another slick southpaw, right before a Mayweather fight, or was it after Mayweather, or was it before Mayweather?
No, I think it was after Mayweather. What? No,
I can pull it up right now.
No, because it was not Charlo. Sorry, Trout was right before Mayweather.
He got the win. It was very controversial. Canelo haters will say that he lost. The Canelo backers will say that he didn't have to fight him, and that's
well, I'm not a Canelo hater, but I think he lost fight.
Where is that fight? Lara was after. Yeah, it was after Mayweather. Wow, it was Mayweather, Angulo, Lara, Kirkland, Cotto, Khan. It was Trout that was before Mayweather. I get the fight.
Correct. Trout. That was the fight right before.
I get that because you needed to step up.
I have Trout in my top five. Because Canelo was so young, and it was his first. I think that was his first major step against a guy who was really, really dangerous and could win the fight. Because Trout had beaten Cotto, and Canelo fought him. And that was
at Barclays. That was so weird.
Yeah, that was a very awesome win for Trout, and it really just anointed Trout for what he is a very, very good fighter. So that set up that fight, and then Canelo's win there, Canelo being super young when he fights, 22, 23, something about at that age. So stepping up and fighting a guy like Trout, who's as good as Trout was, tricky as Trout was, coming off a win over Cotto, a legend. That was a big fight because of, you got to look at that one in totality. Yeah, that was a big fight.
So three, I have Lara. Two, I have the second.
And not a controversial win. He won the fight.
No, he did. Two, I have the second Golovkin win. And to me, this could be easily number one because I do think Canelo won the second.
That's my number one
fight. Yeah, I do think Canelo won the second Golovkin fight. I think this turned the tide for Canelo in terms of making him a massive star. And also...
And he changed his style, too, which was very impressive.
He stood and traded with Golovkin. And there were any detractors. Pushed him back. Any detractors at the time. Even Canelo's own Mexican fans, never really bought into Canelo. Never was like, there wasn't like De La Hoya or Chavez because they didn't always like the way he fought. But that fight against Golovkin, the second one, he stood in there in the pocket, traded with Triple G.
Well, he fought Triple G Mexican style, which is Triple G's thing.
Yeah, I think he wanted to obviously win, and then he also wanted to win by beating Golovkin at his own game because Golovkin going around saying Mexican style, that had pissed off Canelo. And that win right there set him off to do great things and become like a massive star. Did you ever think Canelo at 147, 154 coming up? I knew he'd be a star, but I didn't think he'd be like what he is right now, 50 million per fight. Like everyone knows who he is. My girlfriend and her cousins know Canelo. He's a one name guy. Like he's up there with the greats. I thought he'd be big. Never thought he would be where he's at right now. And I think that second Golovkin fight was how he went from here to here.
Yeah, I agree. I told the story in this podcast a million times when I sparred him, and he had a big 2-page spread in Ring Magazine. He had fought Leonardo Tyner, who Leonardo was my main sparring partner for Ruslan Provodnikov. I brought him in for camp. And Leonardo was scrappy dude. If you probably never watched that fight. I think they fought in Mexico City. That was the last time that Canelo
I
fought
gotta
there.
pull it up.
They went the distance. And Leonardo's good, really good, and he fought a really good fight against Canelo. Canelo was like a baby, and Canelo dominated the fight, but it was a scrap. It was a real scrap because Leonardo was a really scrappy guy, and that's when I first heard about him in the magazine, and then I sparred with him, and then I remember, feeling good about the sparring session, and then it was like a year later, I saw another. I don't know if it was in Ring Magazine again or if it was on Boxing Scene, whatever. And like he's in a Lamborghini. I'm like, this guy's in a. I'm like, this guy's in a Lamborghini. I'm like, I sparred this guy.
And that was
like
2010.
This is crazy. This was at that time. It was probably 2012.
2011, 2012 was the first time I saw him watched him fight live, and I was against Mosley, and I was on the Mayweather Cotto undercard. For a while, he was fighting right underneath Mayweather, which was very smart from Golden Boy. When Golden Boy was promoting Mayweather, and like
no, there was a big push for him. That's why I'm not as surprised. I'm surprised in terms of how good he got because he got better and better and better. He was really good when I sparred him. I was really impressed with his hand technique, his hand position, his defense. His defense was surprisingly good. His physical strength, the power wasn't anything crazy to me, but his technique was really, really impressive. And that's really important when a young fighter, when their technique is there early on, the hand position, his ability to understand the ring. And listen, I'm a very savvy boxer, and obviously, like I could understand what was going on in the ring. I'm like, kid's good.
Kid's good. He's gonna one day he'll be a lot of potential. Star. And number one,
I didn't think he was going to be an absolute superstar, but yeah.
Now look at him now. My number one Canelo win is Sergey Kovalev. I think going up to 175, you can debate if Kovalev was half drunk. You can debate if Kovalev was the top guy at 175. I don't think he wasn't, but he was still a legitimate 175 pounder. Still had something left in the tank. And the way that Canelo won with that knockout, he erased all doubt. I had him down on the cards heading into that 10th, 11th round. It could have been his first loss in years, but he finds a way to win, knocks out a 175 pounder, took 175 pounders' best shots to become a 5-division world champion. I think that's Canelo's best win, and I think it's a precursor to what we're going to see in the ring with Charlo in terms of Canelo's chin being something that could be the difference in this fight. Taking punches, yes, Charlo's bigger, but Canelo has the chin of a guy that's been up to 175, and you look at Charlo, hasn't been above 154. I hasn't even, tested the waters at 160. Now he's going to 168. So I got Kovalev number one. Controversial, because everything about Canelo is controversial.
I got him switch 1 and 2. I had Triple G number 2 as my number 1 because of how much closer Triple G was to his prime at the time when they fought compared to Kovalev. But Kovalev historically is a massive win, and he called this a scary guy no matter what. No matter where you are, he knocked out Anthony Yarde after that. Like he still, he was still a very, very dangerous guy and a legend in the sport. So yeah, I agree. That's a massive, massive win, a massive feather in the cap for Canelo. But I still got Triple G number 1. Number 2 is going to be that Kovalev fight. So yeah, we're not far off. But yes, I think the chin is one of the major storylines of this fight because Charlo, and you're the numbers guy again, not a busy guy,
not really,
but has turned into a puncher in the second half of his career, right? Yeah. Wasn't a puncher early on. No. Gets with Derek James, start knocking everybody out. The 2 guys who beat him, he knocked out in the rematches. That's huge. So every guy he's been in the ring with, he's beaten. That's huge. But it's 54. And Canelo has one of the best chins in boxing, all the way up to 175 against Kovalev, who is a killer puncher. So, yeah. So, if Charlo can't hurt Canelo, how does he win? If Charlo can't hurt Canelo, and he's not a busy puncher, how does he beat Canelo?
Right. I couldn't agree more. I think that's
my mindset for this fight.
Yeah, I think Canelo, both the guys don't throw a lot of punches, but Canelo's a little more active, a little more dynamic.
Explosive.
Yeah.
The dynamic, the explosiveness, the eye-catching his ability to win moments in rounds, his ability to steal rounds, I think is really important to
You
think
know what's
about.
crazy? I'm looking at like a Canelo's box rec up. So like obviously we glossed over a Jacobs win, we glossed over a Callum Smith win. He dominated Callum Smith. We glossed over a Billy Joe Saunders win. Um,
That's on my top five for Billy Joe because I was there for that fight, and Billy Joe is a very difficult guy to fight,
I
and
mean, yeah,
Canelo emphatically ended that fight.
been on quite a run. It is interesting to put this together because a lot of these wins were controversial. A lot of these wins, some don't think were wins for Canelo. Um, even the Golovkin ones, the B-ball obviously was not a
Yeah,
win, but he's fought. Is It's an impressive resume, and he's far from done. I think that's a big storyline too in this fight. This is like he's not definitely on the back nine, Canelo, but he's not like going on some retirement tour. Like he wants to take out Charlo. Maybe he'll fight Jamal Charlo. Maybe he'll fight Terrence Crawford. Maybe he'll take on Benavidez. You know, this is like the final chapter of his legacy, and it's going to be against some big names because it's at PBC, and they have the big names for him. It's his first fight with PBC on this new deal. I think that's a big part of it too. I can't wait.